On March 3rd, 2022, the promising life of college athlete Mark Johnson took a horrifying turn. Mark, who had dreams of joining the NBA, was found in his dorm room, standing over the lifeless body of his sister, Sarah. She had been stabbed 17 times. The prime suspect, his girlfriend, Emily. Mark was in the prime of his college career, balancing his studies in business administration and his role as the star player on the university's basketball team. He had everything going for him: a supportive family, great friends, and a bright future. His charm and talent made him a campus favorite, with everyone rooting for his success. Everything seemed perfect, especially when he met Emily at a campus party. She was charming, supportive, and appeared to be the ideal girlfriend, always there to help him navigate the challenges of college life and the pressure of being a top athlete. But Mark had no idea about the dark secrets Emily harbored. Emily worked at a local cafe and took classes at a nearby community college. She always managed to find time for Mark, helping him with his assignments and attending all his games. Her dedication to him seemed boundless. Emily would bring him homemade lunches, cheer him on from the sidelines, and even help him study late into the night. To Mark, she was the perfect girlfriend, and their relationship quickly became serious. But beneath her sweet exterior lay a troubled past filled with trauma and an all-consuming obsession. Emily's childhood was a series of dark like freedom to finally live and love. But Mark was too deep in love to give it any thought to him. She was just a girl he met at a party who seemed to understand him perfectly. Emily had hidden her past well, but there were signs of her instability that Mark failed to see. Their relationship seemed perfect. Emily was always there, helping Mark with his homework, supporting him at his games, and being the perfect companion. She even managed to convince Mark to give her access to his social media accounts, arguing that transparency was essential for trust. Mark hesitated but eventually agreed, thinking he had nothing to hide. However, Emily's behavior began to change. She became increasingly possessive, demanding to know Mark's every move and becoming jealous of anyone who got close to him. Mark's friends noticed her odd behavior and warned him, but he dismissed their concerns, blinded by his affection for her. His best friend, Jason, found Emily particularly creepy and frequently voiced his concerns, but Mark shrugged them off. Mark's sister, Sarah, visited him at college. Sarah, a nurse with fiery red hair, immediately sensed something off about Emily. Her presence triggered Emily's trauma, but Emily managed to hide her discomfort. Sarah tried to talk to Mark about her concerns, but he brushed her off, convinced that Emily was just misunderstood. One evening, Emily saw Sarah hugging Mark outside his dorm. Sarah was wearing a vibrant red dress that matched her hair, making her presence even more striking. Emily's eyes narrowed as she watched them from a distance, her jealousy boiling over. She saw an opportunity to confront Sarah and put an end to her perceived interference. As Mark went to get something from his car, Emily approached Sarah. "Hi, Sarah," Emily said, her voice deceptively calm. "Hi, Emily," Sarah replied, smiling. "I'm glad Mark has someone like you to support him." Emily's smile was tight. "You don't belong here," she whispered, her voice barely hiding her anger. "What do you mean?" Sarah asked, taken aback. "You'll never understand us," Emily hissed, her eyes flashing with fury. Emily's mind raced. She needed to act. The sight of Sarah in that red dress, the same color as her aunt's hair, triggered a flood of traumatic memories. She felt a surge of irrational rage and possessiveness. Later that evening, as Mark stepped out to get drinks for their small gathering, Emily saw her chance. She followed Sarah into the dorm room. The room was dimly lit, the shadows adding to the eerie atmosphere. Sarah was alone, tidying up. Emily's heart pounded as she spotted a knife on Mark's desk, left there from an earlier attempt to open a stubborn package. The knife was dull, but Emily didn't care. She grabbed it, her hands shaking. "What are you doing with that?" Sarah asked, her eyes widening with concern as she saw the knife in Emily's hand. Emily's voice was a whisper, barely controlled. "You think you can just come here and take him away from me?" Sarah backed away, confused and scared. "Emily, put the knife down. Let's talk." But Emily was beyond reason. Her eyes filled with a mix of pain and rage. She lunged at Sarah, the dull knife cutting into her skin. The first stab was clumsy, more a scrape than a cut, but Emily's fury gave her strength. She stabbed again and again, the blade becoming slick with blood. Sarah screamed, the sound echoing through the empty dormitory hall. The scene was gruesome. Blood spattered across the dorm room walls, pooling around Sarah's lifeless body. The knife Emily used was later found to have bent under the force of her repeated stabs. Emily's hands were covered in blood, and her clothes were soaked through. The brutality of the attack was shocking, with Sarah's body bearing deep, ragged wounds. The look of terror frozen on Sarah's face hinted at the horror of her final moments. Emily had unleashed a fury that left the room looking like a scene from a nightmare. Covered in blood, Emily ran to Mark, babbling about killing a giant spider. Mark rushed to his dorm and was horrified to find his sister's lifeless body. He immediately called 911. The police arrived, and Emily was taken into custody. Mark was left in shock, unable to comprehend how his perfect girlfriend could commit such a brutal act. As the police investigated, Mark's father, a seasoned cop, arrived to support his son. When he heard Emily's name, he recognized her as the disturbed girl from their old town. He revealed to Mark that Emily had been obsessed with him since childhood, watching him from her window and performing small acts of kindness for him without his knowledge. Emily's mental health records showed a history of severe trauma and obsession, triggered by the sight of redheads due to her abusive aunt. It was still not known why only her aunt's red hair triggered her and not her uncle. Perhaps the fear was too great, or the aunt's presence during the abuse left a deeper psychological scar. During her interrogation, Emily broke down and revealed the details of her past. "He would come into my room at night," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "My uncle." And she would just stand there, watching. "When I see red hair, I can't help but relive those nights. It's like spiders crawling all over me." Emily's trial was a media sensation. Her lawyer argued that she was not in her right mind, driven to madness by her traumatic past. The prosecution painted a picture of a calculated, obsessed woman who meticulously planned her way into Mark's life. Mark, still grappling with the shock and betrayal, testified about their relationship and the events leading up to the murder. He recounted the initial charm, the increasing possessiveness, and the horrifying night he discovered his sister's lifeless body. The courtroom was packed with reporters and curious onlookers, eager to see the conclusion of the tragic tale. The jury deliberated for days, weighing Emily's traumatic history against the cold-blooded nature of her crime. The evidence was overwhelming, and the emotional testimonies from Mark and Sarah's friends and family painted a vivid picture of the devastating impact of Emily's actions. In the end, the jury found Emily guilty of second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 25 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 15 years, and was also ordered to undergo extensive psychiatric treatment. Want to see more of this? Then click on the video you're seeing on your screen now.